Well, I'm on the farm today. It's cold. I think it's around 21 or 22 degrees last time I checked. And just doing some storm prep here on the farm, and I'll share what that looks like here as we go along. Hopefully this will be a short video. We're expecting a big snow and some ice probably in the next 6 hours that ought to start. And they're talking up to 30 inches of snow, and then maybe some ice on top of that. And whether we get it remains to be seen. But this old Massey here does a nice job with this Land Pride blade as far as scraping snow out to get our lanes open. It's a 7-foot blade. It's a lightweight blade, so it really doesn't dig down. It doesn't move any dirt really when you or gravel really when you drag this thing around on the farm. So if we were going to clear any of the snow out of the way, this would be what we would use. So back when we had cattle, we would bring our cows down from the hill and confine them over in that east field, and then we'd just feed them over there all winter out of the old barn. You can see maybe the top of it back over that way, but all we ever used was square bales, and we'd put them down and put them on a wagon, and then get the tractor started. This is generally how it worked. A one-man operation. If it was somebody to drive the tractor and you could throw hay off, that was great. But a lot of times what would happen is we had an old Ford 3000 that's still on the farm, and you'd put that thing in low range first gear, have your square bales of hay on a 4-wheel wagon, and you'd open the gate, come in, the cattle would follow you. They knew food was on that wagon. And you'd put it in low range first gear, and then while it's moving, you jump off the tractor and jump up on the wagon and start cutting bales and letting them, kind of spreading them out as you went along. And you didn't want the hay concentrated in one spot because they would bid on it, and that would kind of ruin everything. But and then the tractor would start veering off one direction or the other. You jump off the wagon and back on the tractor and straighten things out and keep going, all the while keeping your eye out for the bull who wanted the hay, but he didn't want you in the field with it. So now it's hay. Hay. That's all we make on this farm now. There's no more cattle, chickens, pigs, guineas. There's just hay. And it's kind of nice because making preparations for the big storm don't necessarily involve us getting out into the elements. And let me back up here a little bit. Even when we had cattle, my whole life, this has been a part-time farm. This has not been the income generator that buys a house, puts kids through college, and that kind of thing. It does contribute towards buying a house and towards putting kids through college, because I've done both. And but it's not full-time income. I guess that's probably what I'm trying to say. And it used to be my great-grandfather, it was his primary income, but my grandfather worked a day job and so on and so forth down to me, and so this has been part-time income. And in a lot of ways here in Virginia mountains, there's just so many farms that are part-time, and in order to make a go of it, you have to have a day job in order to pay for your house, and the big thing is insurance, that kind of thing. your day job can provide the capital investments you need to get things, like if I didn't have a day job as a hotshot engineer, I don't know if I could have afforded to have bought this tractor as cheap as it was. But anyway, the bottom line is, with cattle, we had to be on the farm. You have to feed them. You got to maintain the fences and all of that, and that's all good. But the nice thing about farming hay, especially here in my retirement years, and even when I was on the day job, is it gets really busy during certain parts of the year, and you can walk away from it. You can walk away from the hay, from the farm, and cattle don't get out at 2 a.m. in the morning. There's no sick animals, and I really have a lot of respect for the farms that have livestock and deal with these freezing cold temperatures, especially when you get up into these northern states. Just saw a video today, Rolling Hills Farm. If you haven't seen his channel, you ought to check it out. And they're dealing with temperatures minus 28. That's not wind chill, that's the actual temperature. And getting out there and working in that stuff. But so basically here on this farm prep for the blizzard and for this big massive storm that we're supposed to get, which really in our area, compared to Minnesota and Wisconsin and places like that, the kind of weather we're getting, in my opinion, a walk in the park for these northern states. It's funny because I've got friends in some of these northern states, and they'll say, they would come to visit or come to work. When I was working, they would come in on business trips, and schools would be closed and it'd be like 2 inches of snow. And I remember one time, one of them was real, they made a lot of fun of us because, you get a couple of 2 or 3 inches of snow and all the schools are canceled. And then they had to drive into work from the hotel. And around here, we got mountains and a lot of crooked roads. And when you get a little bit of snow on them and some ice, it's not like driving on the flat land. And I remember this one person, they came into work. They got in there a little bit late. And they were like, I know why the schools are closed. And what it was, they had to drive these back roads to get from the hotel to where the plant was. And they slid all over the place getting there. But just forgetting about driving, just the temperatures that we're seeing here, it's like an everyday thing in these northern states. But around here, they call for temperature to plunge down to 0. Next week, it's going to be in the lower single digits, and I think it's going to drop below 0 a little bit. But in some of these northern states, it's business as usual. And but around here, we're not accustomed to that. And here in Virginia, these mountains. And so people clean out the stores. There's a line backed up for a long ways trying to get into the local Walmart. It's pretty amazing. And but here on this farm, how we prepare, kind of get back on topic, how we prepare for this massive winter storm that's coming, is we're not going to do anything. If there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, I'm just not going to sell hay in it. If somebody's desperate for hay, they should have come last week or last summer and bought hay, because, as I mentioned earlier, these small Virginia farms around here and up and down the road, they're part-time income. And so we don't depend on this hay revenue to get us our next meal. And so we have the luxury of saying, no, I'm not going to do business when it's really bad, when there's a foot of snow or a foot and a half of snow out here. I'm just not going to do it. You know, you should have come and bought your hay when things weren't so tight. And so that's really, you know, the upside to a part-time farm. You know, if you have to go into a day job to make everything else work, then you can reflect on your farm and just say, well, you know, this farm doesn't exactly, it's not the go-to for putting potatoes on the plate. And so I don't think I want to be out in this kind of weather, slipping and sliding around and plowing snow, you know. And the message to the hay customer is, come get your hay when you can come get your hay. Don't be coming getting your hay when there's a snow on the ground and everything's iced up, because here on this farm, our farm prep is we're closed for business. Come see us when you can see the ground again. And that's just the way it is. Hope everybody stays warm and safe as the snow flies, and we'll talk to you later.